So first thing that I'll go is, what are Python keywords? What are Python keywords? Let me just give you an analogy with the language. So every language, it has certain specific rules, and it has certain, for example, there is a verb, noun, and certain structure in the language. Similarly, if you see this computer language, they have some keywords. By keywords I mean these have specific meaning. For example, if I say a keyword is there for has a certain meaning. If I write keyword if, it has a certain meaning. So for some of these things there is a certain meaning. So that's why we call them keywords. If you see the definition even, they are also called as reserved words. They are reserved, they have a specific meaning for it, because they play a crucial role when you are programming. So if I am speaking with you, there are words which have associating meanings with it. So similar with this. So in the Python you have certain specific set of words which have a predefined meaning. So when the creator of the Python, they tried to code it, they made some list of keywords which they had predefined meanings in that. So if you see in here, I have written down the Python keywords: and, false, non-local, as, finally, not, assert. There is a lot of things. I won't show this in the code. So if you see the language, there is a set of keywords. For example, you can say import keyword and print these keyword.kv list. If I run this, so you can see the list of keywords is like false, none, true, peg parser, and, as, assert. They're all these words, they have predefined meanings. They have predefined meanings. So that means you cannot use them anywhere, but they have their own defined meanings. Without that meaning you cannot use them. You cannot try to assign some other meaning to it. So when the language was built, that time the language inventor or the creator of the language, he assigned some specific meanings to all these words. That's what I mean by, for example, these keywords. So if you just see the tab screen that I am again sharing, for example, this AND operation, it is the operator, it is used to perform an AND operation between two. For example, if you see this break, it is used in if-else blocks. If you see even this if is there, definition is there, import is there. Then we have these true, del, is. All of these have specific meanings. While we'll be coding, you will get to know, okay, what is the meaning of this, what is the meaning of that. So that's why I have shown you the code as well. So if you see the code here, we have a package known as keyword. So we imported that keyword and we printed all the keywords that are there. Okay. Now let's move to the understanding of what is the meaning of statement and what are indentations, how to comment Python code, because this is really important. When you write a real world code, that time you have to write the code in a really good way so that people can understand it. It's not that you have to write code once and nobody will read it. As I am always emphasizing this, that whenever you are writing the code, it is write once and read multiple times, because you will be working in a team. तो ऐसा होगा कि बहुत सारी एक बड़ी टीम तुम्हारे साथ काम कर रही होगी. If your code is really good readable, so that other people can read the code, so that's a really good service to the company as well to the project, because अगर कोई बंदा नया आता है, he is easily able to grasp your code, what are you doing in the code. And that's why this, you must know how to indent, how to comment in Python actually. So what is a statement actually? So statement in Python is any instruction that is given to Python interpreter so that it can execute it. So I'll say कोई भी ऐसी चीज एक लाइन में लिख दूंगा ताकि वो Python interpreter के पास जाए और Python interpreter उसको execute करे. That's a statement in Python. So ये statement बहुत types के होते हैं. There can be a humongous number of types in these Python statements. For example, there is assignment statements are there, conditional statements are there, looping statements are there, and a lot of statements are there, which we will go through I think shortly. So anything that we give to the Python interpreter to execute is basically a statement. Okay. So types of statements are like, for example, multi-line statements are there. There is Python conditionals and loop statements. Python if-else is there. Python for loops are there. While loop is there. Try except. Python with statement. All of these are called statements. Simple definition is whatever can be executed by a Python compiler is a statement. So if you tell it, for example, if something, if true, print hello. Okay. So this is a statement. So this print is a statement. So whatever can be executed by a Python interpreter is a statement. Okay. So you can read the definitions that I have written here. So now we'll go to the indentation. If somebody knows what indentation is, and the difference between C and C++ programs and Python is that in C or C++ or Java you can write your code in a single line and without any problems. It won't give errors. But Python has a restriction. You have to indent the code. For example, if you go on here, I think you are able to see the screen. Let me just write something. I'll comment this code out. I complete, it won't be done. For example, I'll write if true, it should be capital T, okay. If true, print hello. Print hello. I have. Okay. So you can see there are 4 spaces over here. If you see, there are some spaces over here. If I write it, for example, like this, so there is no indentation. By indentation, I mean so there is no proper structure. If I run this code, you can see there is a problem. Expect the indented block. It says that you have to indent, otherwise I won't run the code. Because this indentation is really necessary for code readability. I told that every creator or every inventor of the language has a design philosophy. The design philosophy of Python was the code should be readable. That's why I have to put 4 spaces over here. If I have to put 4 spaces over here or a tab, then only this code will run. For example, if I now run it, you will see hello. Okay. So as I said that design philosophy is necessary. So when you are coding, so you have to indent this code, otherwise this code won't run. So I have given a good example, which is a little bit bigger example than this. For example, I am creating a function here. You don't know what function is, just bear with me. If you are not understanding some terms, just bear with me. So here I am saying print this. For example, if I just delete these 4 spaces, now this is not indented. So what will it will give the error of expect the indented block. So whenever you are stuck with some error, so you can just, for example, copy this error and paste it over here. If you want to see what is the problem, because sometimes you won't remember what the error is. So you'll just search on the Google and then go over the Stack Overflow. Here we have Stack Overflow. If you are seeing my screen, we have Stack Overflow. So if I click on there, I also am showing you how to actually debug the code. So it is saying I am getting this error. Then there are people who have answered this question. As this error message indicates, you have an indented error. It is probably caused by a mix of tabs and space. So it is giving that there the block is not properly indented. Can you please indent that? Okay. So you should be having this habit of searching these errors so that you get to resolve them on yourself. So what I'll do is I'll again print this tab. So this means under this function, I am first executing this statement print. Let's just comment out this code as if this does not exist. So if I now run it, it will print this is a indented this is indented properly. If I have this condition now, if true, again I am indenting this. Print this is within the nested block. If I again just put it here, it is out of the indentation. It will give me an error. That's why I am putting a tab. Tab means 4 spaces. I am putting the 4 space so that I indent it. So when I print it again, it will show this is well indented, and then it also executes this line of the code. Okay. So again, if I uncomment this, so if I write it like this, so it won't run. So under this if, only this statement will run. So if I take this print under this, so this print also comes under this true. If I just delete one of the tabs, then this comes under this definition. If you see the block of the code, so there are 3 blocks of the code. This is the first function, this is before function, this is inside the true block, and this is outside the function, if you see it that way. So if you want to write something outside of this block, so you have to indent it outside this block. For example, if I write it, it comes under this. For example, I'll say in here, I'll say let me say x is equal to 10. So print if x is greater than 9. So I want this statement to get executed only. I want that under this if condition, only the first step, this is within the nested block, should get executed. That's why I'm just indenting this block in this if file part. So if you see, if I run it, for example, I'll just comment it out. So what will happen is this is an indented block properly. So this also got this got executed, and this also got executed. If I also want this block to get executed under this if statement, okay, so I'll just put another indentation. I'll put it under this block. So it shows that these 2 print statements are now part of the if. So that's what I mean by indentation. Indentation is really important in Python. Without indentation, you cannot make the code run. So it will show indentation error. So under some block, if you are writing some code, you have to indent it properly. Okay. So that's why I have here mentioned the role of indentation. So Python blocks contain a group of related statements, as we saw that in that if statement will apart. This if you see this if, it has this statement, one statement. This if is one block of code. If you see this if, it's one block of code, and then this other if is in the block of code. You can say I have used nested if inside the if. So this actually is a whole block. So with this if, we have another if inside it. So you have to also, you should also be able to get, okay, what comes under this if, how many statements are in the if. For example, if I see the outer if, this if all apart, So there are 1, 2, 3. So these 3 statements are under this if statement, under this block. So under this if statement, there is only one block, only one line. Okay, so the role of indentation is the code won't run if you don't properly indent it. So most of the times when I was starting with the coding in Python, I was feeling, because I was from C background, so what happened is I used to write a lot of messy code. I forgot to give the indentations, so then it was giving me the error. So you have to have these properly indented blocks, otherwise the code won't run and there will be some problems in there. There will be some problems. So that's the first thing, because we are now reading how to write a good code. The first thing is you should indent it properly. Okay, and the second thing is you should comment the code properly. So if you see it here, I have written you should comment the code properly. By comment I mean when you're coding something, when you're coding a stuff, you are, for example, adding 2 numbers. At the top you should write that I am adding 2 numbers. So this is used for documentation. As you might have heard, for example, Python is a huge repository, so people must have provided documentation for that. So otherwise problem ये हो सकता था कि अगर बहुत सारे लोग इस कोड को करने जाते, but it is not actually understandable directly. So there must be some documentation and explanation given. So that's given by comments. So comments हमारे काम कहाँ पे आते हैं कि where we want other people to read our code. So अगर मैं कोई काम करने जा रहा हूँ, for example, if you see this screen, I'll just write a code in here. So I'll just add a code block. So if I want sum 2 numbers, so what I'll do, I'll write like this, sum of 2 numbers. So this tells the programmer that whatever code is after that, it is used to sum these 2 numbers. For example, I'll say 10 plus 4, something like that. Basically I'm running this and it's showing the answer is 14. So these comments are necessary. So I hope that you got why are people like it's really difficult when you code to it's easy to forget that I need to comment the things, but it is really important skill to comment, because it is good for the documentation and for the explanation. In the first session, if you remember that I told you, you must write clean code. There's a coding style. So when somebody writes, some people have pretty notes and some have really messy notes, and people prefer to read pretty notes. So you will be collaborating with the team, और वहाँ पे ऐसा होगा कि लोगों को तुम्हारा code समझना पड़ेगा. So it should be well documented, well indented as well. So there should be explanations given. So there are different types of comments. There is a single line comment. Types of comments I mentioned here. That the first thing is there are single line comments, which I mentioned in here. There are single line comments in Python. A single line comment is that if you put a pound symbol or hash symbol that we usually call it. So if you put this symbol in front of a line, that thing will be ignored by the compiler. Compiler won't call it a statement, it won't be executed. Compiler will just ignore it. If you see it here, I just put a hash symbol in here. And then when I wrote next line, there was no hash in front of that. So this was an executable. If I wanted to print something, so I'm just showing it here. So first line, it was commented line. So interpreter won't read this line. So second line, if I want to print, for example, hello. So what happened is, the second line, there is no pound symbol in front of it. So this will be a normal statement which will be executed by the interpreter. And this line won't be executed by the interpreter. So this is just like a normal statement which is used to explain the code. If I enter it now, so it will be hello. So this hash is just used for a single line. So that's why it's called a single line comment. That's why I mentioned here, there a Python has single line comment. I've also given an example in here. For example, if I assign, there is a variable like this. I have written this is a single line comment if you see it. So this is a single line comment, and here I have given a variable value 42. So if you run that, there will be no problem. So here you can also add, I have also commented this code. Hash, you can also add comments next to the code. So this is a single line comment, and this is done by having a single pound symbol or single hash symbol. Then what we have is multi-line comments. So sometimes we need to give a long explanation. So for that we have to have multi-line comments. So in order to create multi-line comments, we use triple quotes or double like this, triple quotes. We have these triple double quotes. That means we'll write first inverted quotes like this, then second pair of inverted quotes, and third pair of inverted quotes, and there we'll close them, and we'll write in between these things. So this actually is called a multi-line comment. So in that you can write multiple lines till you don't have these 3 closing pairs of quotes. The code won't be considered as the code state executable, but it will be just considered as comments. So if you see it over here, so I have written, for example, these 3 quotes are here, and then these 3 quotes are here. So you can see there is even different color as well. So this is a multi-line comment. This is written in a multiple line. Alternate, you can use triple double quotes as docstring for. I'm just writing some comment in between this. If I run this, it will run without any errors. So for example, if I just remove this and if I put just hash, so there will be errors because now only first line is the comment. Other two lines are considered as code. If I run it, it will be, there will be cannot assign operator. There is some error. So multi-line comment is that you want to write a big paragraph or something like that for the explanation, better explanation of your code. That's why you put these multiple, triple inverted commas, and then you write anything that's in between, and you can write in multiple lines or even a single line as well. Okay, this is sometimes there is also something called as doc string. So there is a doc string. When you add anything before a function, for example, you define a function in here. I have defined add two numbers a and b. So what I will write in the first line of the function after the definition, I'll give what this function does. So I have here mentioned it here. This function takes two parameters as its input. Parameters are a and b. A is an integer number, and then a is a first number, the second number. Then it returns again the sum. So this all is mentioned in these multi-line comments. So this usually is called doc string. So there actually is no difference if you see syntactically between a doc string and a multiple line comment. But this doc string is usually used in functions or classes. So where it provides, or for a module which says that what is the function of this particular class, what does this do, what does a particular function do. If you see it over here, I also mentioned it in the code. For example, add these two numbers. You can see add number, it's a function. Okay. And then you can call help function. Help means that this function will call. So if I write, let me do one thing first. So let me just remove this. I'll just remove it. Okay, so there is no doc string. So if I run this code, okay, so here it shows help on function, add numbers in the module. There is nothing, no doc string was there, so it did not give anything. But if I again write this doc string back, so now if I call this help add number, so it will access this doc string basically. So it will print it out. So now you can see it over here. Add number, this is a function which takes two arguments, it gives everything. People usually need help when they do some task, and they'll call this help. If there is a doc string written in the function or in the class, it will just output what is this class doing. Okay. So there are two ways of accessing this. You can say help add numbers, or you can just print add. There are two ways. For example, this is the first way, help, and then I call this function. And the second way is you can just write print dot hyphen the dash dash doc dash dash. I can just write this much. It will be able to print that doc. I can otherwise comment this one out or execute this. So these two are doing the same function. This help add numbers and print add numbers or doc. Okay. So I have even mentioned in here, if you see on the notes as well, I have mentioned that there's a difference between doc string and the multi-line comment. The first is doc string is written in functions or classes to show how to use the program, because if you buy anything, the manual comes within it. So you have to show how and what this program does. So you have to write some documentation in there. So multi-line comment is just show what a code block does. Okay. So is this clear? How do we write? Why do we write doc string? Why do we have to comment the code and stuff like that? Is it clear? Or any questions regarding this? Any question regarding the software patterns? Because I hope you will be working with a big team, and when you will go to good corporates like Microsoft, Amazon, Mindtree and stuff like that, there you will have to write a lot of code, and for your code it should be clean. Other people should be able to understand it. That's why I invested some time into good coding methods. So you should actually write doc strings for your functions or for your classes. You should comment your code blocks. There are multi-line comments, single line comments as well.